Hello and welcome to All 24 News special series of interviews coming to you on the sidelines of the African Startup Conference from Algiers. Today we have the honor and privilege to receive Salvation Alibor from Nigeria, who's an advisor of startups and entrepreneurs. Welcome, Salvation.
Thank you, Osama.
So to start with, what do you do that helps startups and entrepreneurs?
Thank you so much for having me here. Helping startups is a passion that I have because I believe that's one way to actually build up the economy. The economy is held up by the startups, smaller businesses, as they grow to become the larger one, providing jobs, providing a foreign exchange, providing GDP for the company, and essentially making everybody happy. All right. So what I'll do for them is first and foremost to better interpret their market. All right. So to understand the market and interpret it, all right? And then after understanding the market, then I help them to identify and know who exactly their buyers are and who their users are, all right? Most times startups don't know that there's a difference between the actual users of their products and the buyers of the products, okay? So for instance, the user of a bike, bicycle could be a 7-year-old boy, but the buyer is the dad. All right. So you have to make a difference between the person that buys it and the one that is actually going to use it. So you design for the user and you price for the buyer. All right.
So this is in general what you do for startups. It means you help them study the markets, study their, let's say,
their
clients,
customers,
consumers.
And then we also do a whole lot on that. I help them to stay disciplined. All right, structure their business, instill corporate governance in their business. We also help them to plan go-to-market strategy because you're not in business unless you're selling. Okay, when we talk traction, we're actually saying that your business is selling. So no matter how lofty, how great, how popular your brand is, if it's not translating to cash, then you're not in business because business is about buying and selling. All right, so we want to give them a good go-to-market strategy, and then we also help them to scale.
So Algeria is hosting the African Startup Conference, and also it is pushing for industrial and digital reforms. What do you think should policymakers in Algeria, or maybe in the whole continent in general, and also startups do in order to maybe position themselves in the market and also make the conference not only a conference for people to meet, but also to be a reality that we see on the African economy?
Okay, so first thing first really is to identify the gaps. All right, so in one of the business sessions earlier, I heard someone from one particular country saying, oh, they've not started using AI. All right, that's already a glaring gap for him. All right, he's seeing everybody talking AI implementation, AI modeling, and he's asking, how do you even use it in business? How do you use it in government? Okay, so first and foremost, identify that there's a gap. All right, so when you identify the gap, then identify who exactly has solved that gap. All right. So for the young man who came from a country and is asking, and he's saying we don't use AI in our schools, business or government, he should probably look around and ask who has used it in their business, who is succeeding with it in their school, and who has applied it in government. So if they are succeeding at it, then you can now go and partner with them. All right. There is no point really reinventing the wheel, they say, right? So somebody has invented it, someone is already using it, it's working somewhere, but however, it's a gap for you. So just go partner with them, domicile the solution. You have to localize it because their need is not your need. All right. So the way we use AI in Nigeria is going to be totally different from the way you use it in Algerian schools. All right. Our need, our gas, our climate, our food, our tongue is all different. So you localize it. Okay. And then what policymakers now do is to provide a framework to govern it so that you don't over-regulate or under-regulate, or just open the market for someone to just come and bucanize it, take undue advantage of the users, take undue advantage of people's data or information. So you have to regulate. So policymakers create the framework, all right, to give the local players some sort of advantage, protect the local users, but also make it very enticing for the foreign partners to be able to come in and play locally.
So right. we have known that only 2% of the funds come into to startups here in Algeria, the conference, and also in Africa, but 98% of the funding is African, like local African. And as you spoke about the gaps and finding the gaps in order to achieve better results and maybe make the conference a reality when it comes to startups. But do you think there are specific mechanisms for policymakers and also startups to identify the gaps?
Okay, so conferences like this help us to identify the gaps. So sometimes you don't know you have a problem till someone you identify someone living better. All right, so you just think trekking is good. All right, I can trek from CIC to the airport. Okay, so because you've not seen someone drive a car. All right, so you think better shoes are the best innovations. Oh, I've got a canvas, I've got better shoes, so I move faster to the airport. And then suddenly you see someone drive past in a car, and you're thinking, wait a minute, what's that? And they say, that's a car, it helps you go faster. Then you know you have a problem.
So identifying the differences maybe is another manner to identify the gaps.
Yes.
So Salvation, you work with programs, you work with founders, you work with startups. Do you think startups in general are really hiring? Do you think graduated students are really finding jobs, or maybe startups are struggling to find or to hire people for their businesses?
All right, I think this is the best time to be alive on Earth since wherever at the beginning of time. I think so. Okay. I believe that we live at a very interesting time when, for the first time, really, there are more jobs than people who can fill the jobs. Okay, so I usually tell young chaps, if you're jobless, it's because you have not disciplined yourself to skill up, learn, skill up. All right. So sometimes they don't really teach you some of the needed skills today in school. All right. So you personally develop yourself. You find out what are the needs in the market. Some of the companies, our portfolio companies, I see them. They put out job adverts for 2 months. It's yet to be filled. All right, and then they fill up the role and then give it some time. Those people are moving to another country or getting some higher paying job somewhere else. Okay, so you need to fill it up. Okay, so there is job mobility is now very high. This day you're not. It's totally wrong today to even try to tell somebody to keep one job. All right, because he works in your time zone he works on your job for this time zone. Then he's up in another job for another time zone. All right. So today we just share people. It's shared competence. So you can deliver on this job. Yeah, come work with us. Deliver it for our time frame, and then you can deliver for another person for that another time frame. So I think there's a need for young people to begin to identify the gap in skills in the market, in the skill market. All right, and fill themselves with that knowledge, gain some competence in it, and make themselves available because the jobs are there.
So, African Startup Conference speaks Pan-African scale. So, how do you think, or what do you think is the right path for African countries in general? Maybe Nigeria, as you're Nigerian, and Algeria, as you have visited Algeria, and maybe you have met Algerian startups. What do you think is the right path in order to globalize the African product, not only make it African, but also maybe searching partnerships, maybe reaching other markets of the world. So what do you think is the right path?
All right, so if you want to scale outside of your locality, the first thing is identify where your product is needed the most, all right? Because business is about selling, I say, okay? You have to find someone who is willing to buy. There are countries where they are in super their need of your products, yes? All right, so but what you want to do what you want to do first and foremost is just like when you wanted to start, you're running a startup, you want to first and foremost establish that there's a market in that place, all right? Once you identify there's a market, there's a number, all right? Okay, the number of persons who need the product are large enough, all right? The next thing is for you to find a partner. All right. So some persons make the mistake of thinking that the playbook that works in their country is going to work in the other country. Remember, business is about meeting needs. Needs are local. All right. So until you understand how the need plays locally, then you're not able to solve it. All right. The way, let's say football, you want to start soccer academy, football academy. That's your product. All right. And then it's working in Nigeria. The way Algerians follow football academy, developmental part of football is different from the way it works for Nigerians, okay? So you need to understand how can school academy, does it have to be embedded in formal school, or you need to run the academy separately? So you need local partners. So someone who understands the local needs, the culture, why people consume, why they buy what they buy, all right? Because you see, you've got a product. You built, for instance, you can build a product in Nigeria. A Greek company sells oils, olive oil, all right? And then for them, they're providing quality cooking oil, all right? But Nigerians buy it for spiritual purposes. So if you do not understand the local need, you'll be promoting vegetable oil and you'll not sell. Because Nigerians prefer palm oil for cooking, all right? But the olive oil, they need it for prayers. All right. So you want to now know how to channel where your market is. This product is for this market, not for my market.
And speaking from this perspective, I personally have noticed, and maybe you too have noticed, that most of startups, entrepreneurs are leaned into what's digital, what's technological. Do you think this is the only path that maybe African countries should follow, or should we be more on the market when it comes to other products, other types of products?
Okay, thank you for that question, okay, because I see that as a trend. A lot of younger people leaning towards digital products is understandable. The entry barrier is lower, all right? It's the entry is lower, okay? So you can easily scale in, you can easily enter, you can build a digital company right in your room. As a student, you can create a full enterprise in your dormitory. So entry-level barrier is very low, that's why, okay? But for the other products, you probably need some more expensive infrastructure. You need some investment beyond knowledge infrastructure.
And here we're going back to funds and to investment and to partnerships.
So that's actually where the challenge is, because you hardly would see Africans building devices because they need initial investments for the prototyping, all right? So there's no access to that. So I remember making a proposal to federal government of Nigeria, one of the agencies that is responsible for technology incubation. And I said, on our streets, I see a lot and lots of ingenuity. People building things out of trash, from the bins, putting them together, but nobody is really helping them to make economic sense and smarter designs of what they are thinking. All right, maybe we wanted to do that, so we designed a program for it. And we started, okay, but you see, the biggest challenge in it is now funding, all right? Because, what he's creating, it needs maybe a diode, it needs some sensors, and then the sensors are not readily available in Nigeria. You have to buy them from China, from Europe.
So it's all about the expenses that they have to afford.
That increases their barrier.
So in plain and direct language, how do you see startups, entrepreneurs in Africa, just to sum up this interview as we have reached the end of our time.
Oh.
Yeah. So how do you evaluate startups and entrepreneurs in Africa in general, and maybe in Algeria and Nigeria in specific?
I think we're very brilliant. I think Africans are exceptionally intelligent. I think they are very resilient. Our hard terrain makes us to be very resilient, and that's great. And I think we need more exposure. We need, what I think government should do is provide for the younger ones. For example, ASC next year, I expect to see more students. I need to see more youths, okay, because they are the future. They need to see what's happening, so they can think. If you see, then you start dreaming, and then you can create. All right. So we need to expose them more. And then for the founders, I think the government should encourage those who actually co-create with them. All right. So venture builders, okay, I'm a venture builder, all right. So I see the need a lot, because a lot of the founders, they are technical people. They can create, but they do not see the business angle to it. So what we can do is bring people who understand the business angle, marketing angle, financial angle, and then let them be able to help them to co-create things that meet the
Thank you
need.
so much, Salvation Alibor, for these thorough and wide ideas that you have been sharing with us. Dear viewers, we have reached the end of our interview today. You have been with me, Usama Ayadi, on All 24 News, on this special series of interviews coming to you on the sidelines of the African Startup Conference here from Algiers. Till next time, do take care.